G'day folks, well here we are doing the Crazy Mars tutorial, and three things to say about this one before we get going. First thing is that, as with all of these, the links are available to buy these things in the description, and if you're just getting into twisty puzzles or you've never had a look at these crazy puzzles, you really have to. They're absolutely brilliant puzzles. And the second thing is that this is Mars. We're going to reduce it to a Rubik's Cube, the same sort of way as Jupiter and Uranus and Neptune, but this is where things start getting much more difficult. So we can't use the same methods. So it's going to be quite different, and that leads me to my third thing, which is this is going to be a fairly long video. Because of that, I'm going to edit it so that there'll be pauses partway through, and I'll supply links to click ahead and then continue with the same thing. So I think, for example, what I'll do is when I'm perhaps reducing the corners, I'll reduce some of them and then pause it, and if you want the option to continue watching all of the corners being reduced, then you just do nothing, and if you want to skip ahead to the placement, then you can skip ahead. So I reckon that's how it'll work. Let's get into it. Now, the thing with Mars, first of all, is that it has 3 0 faces in a row and 3 1 faces in a row. So we've got red is a 0 face, blue and orange. There are 3 0 faces, and therefore white, green and yellow are our 3 1 faces, and they're of course where those centre bits turn when the face turns. Now, because we don't have 3 0 faces around a corner, such as here, here and here, what it means is that when we go to do outer edges, if it's flipped, we can't flip it wherever we want to, and therefore we've got to approach the reduction of the edges in a slightly different manner. So what we're going to do is place all of the circle edges first, and then place the outer edges like that over the top of the circle edges. And I'll show you exactly how to do that, but it is a hard puzzle, so if you've just picked up Mars and thought that should be pretty easy, don't panic, it's not. Let's get to it. The first thing we want to do is place the circle edges, and I'm going to start with the orange face, if I can find it. There it is. So I'm just turning edges in willy-nilly if I can, and so first of all we've got those two there which can turn straight in, and this one here. Now what we want to do for this one is basically turn it onto a face which can turn, so I'm going to put its position down there, turn it on, put it up and return that. And doing the orange face is just really never harder than that. So that's one face done. The next thing we want to do is this face opposite. Now with the red face, what we need to have in order to place these pieces and keep the orange pieces where they are is a red piece along the bottom. So here's one, and let's demonstrate this. So I'm going to place this red piece essentially in the opposite top part there. The way to do that is to turn the position down and then across. Now you'll notice there's an orange piece come up there. If we have a look at the bottom, in fact there's 2 that are gone, but that's okay. The nice thing about this is I can now turn my red piece onto that position and watch the bottom. You'll see those orange pieces that are remaining don't actually move, which means when I turn this back, it replaces that orange piece, and when I turn my red piece up into position, it replaces the other one, and that's been placed. So as long as you've got your red down here, you can use the white, green or yellow faces to do that. So I've got a few reds down here at the moment, so let's perhaps get, well, it doesn't really matter. Let's get this one down here. So to do that, I just need to turn it and then turn it off and then return. And all those orange ones will stay where they are. That one's still there, we'll have to deal with that in a minute. This one, let's do that. Let's place this in that position. So we turn the position down and across, put the red on it and undo those moves, and that's now done. I've got another one here, so we can place that over here, so we'll put it over here first. So to get it to the bottom, we turn it down and across and then undo, and now I'll turn its position down and around, red on, reverse, and that's in as well. All the oranges are still there. Now the last one, this one here is on the blue face. So this is a little bit trickier because if we try and turn that down, nothing moves. So what we need to do is get it off onto another face, and we can do something like, this. We can do that, then turn that, so 180 degree turns, and then undo those 2 turns. And having done that, you'll notice first the oranges are all back, the 3 reds are back, and this is now on a face that can turn. So that's what you need to do if you've got a red on the blue face. Having done that, we can now turn it down to the bottom, and now note that it's got to go in this position, so I'm going to start it over here. Now turn that position down and around, put the red on, undo, and the red face is done. The red and the orange are done. Okay, now the good news is we're nearly at the point where it's an absolute piece of cake. We've got one little issue to go, and that's the blue face. So the first thing I'll do is, just because I can now turn those faces like that and it doesn't affect the orange and red, if I have any blues that can be easily placed, I'll place them. Now this one actually can, because I can turn this down to here and then put that on. And because by doing that, I'm not affecting the red pieces here. So even though I turn that off, when I turn that back, it doesn't do anything with the orange, and I complete my move. The reds are back, the oranges are back, and that blue is in. And so the final thing to do with your last blue piece, or your last blue pieces, when you can't just turn them up like that, or do what I just did, you've got to have them opposite the face somehow. So now that this is opposite, what we're going to do is we're going to turn the position down, turn the blue on, return the position, and return that. And by doing the full 4-move sequence, the reds come back, the oranges come back, and the blues are done. And that's not too hard, but now it just gets ridiculously simple, because we can just move up here to place these last ones, and we're always just turning these faces, and so the oranges and reds are going to stay where they are. So here's the white face. I just put some white pieces in by transferring them down. All of this is extremely simple 4-move edge piece series, and let's place the white. You'll notice the red and the orange is still where it should be. So now I might turn this to here and then bring the white down, like so. What else could I do? You'll notice if I don't complete that 4th move, the orange sits here, and so that's why I've always got to do that. Now, if I've got a white here opposite where it should be, like on the same piece but on the other side, I've got to get it off that position. So what I'm going to do is something like turn it to here and then use this. I'll turn it to here, put that down there, and in fact in doing that I've actually managed to place a green one at the same time, which is good. So to get this final white one in, we'll go white to white, white to yellow, yellow back to here. So we turn down like that. Whites are done. Greens and yellows, so this has got to be a green. You can see why I said this was very, very simple. And the last one, I've got to get the green to here, so I'll turn that to there, then put the yellow up, and then undo those moves. And all of the circle edges are now done, and that completes the first phase of the solve. Now, the next part is to think about the outer edges. We want to end up with stuff like that. That is a completely reduced edge. As I said at the beginning, we can't do that. We can do it for some, but we'll find there's always going to be some that we just cannot reduce like that individually. So what we're going to do is reduce the greens first, because the green edges are the ones that are connected with the yellow and white face. So we're going to basically do that and then put that on the bottom and use that as our upper face. So I've got a green white one in here already. What I need to do now is look at another green edge, so green red, and think about where it's got to go and what it's got to replace. So I know that the green red has got to go to the green orange. Now there's no hard and fast rules for doing this. It's just a matter of positioning your pieces and seeing how it's going to turn out. So if I was to set up and put the green orange down here and then turn the green red to there, I can see that now I can use these two zero faces to do it, and it won't affect the circle edges. It'll only affect outer edges, and that's why I've got to always do this on two zero faces. But I can see that if I were to turn that around, the green would be on the orange. But if you remember, the green needed to go to the green. So what that tells me is I could put that down there and then try turning that around. So all of this is set up. Now, at this stage I can think, well, these are my two zero faces. So is there a way that I can rotate or move that to there using only the red and blue faces? And as it happens, there is, because that can come down there, and then this can come down here, and that will be a 3 cycle of those outer edges, which will position the green red exactly where I need it to be. And you'll notice as I'm turning, it's turning the outer edges, but all the inner edges come back to where they should have been. You can see the green red is there as well. So all I need to do now is remember the setups that I did and undo them in the correct order. So I think that was the first one. And then the second one up there, and you can see the green red has gone into its correct position. More importantly, it hasn't affected that, and it also hasn't affected the circle edges at all. So I can certainly turn one faces for setups. I just don't want to turn them when I'm actually putting the edge in place. So then I might have a look and say green orange, that's got to go to white blue. So let's turn this down. Will that help? Don't think that will. What about this one? And you can see there doesn't seem to be any way to get the green orange to the white, because I'd have to turn that to its position by turning that up and then that, and you can see it rotates that. So that's no good. So the next thing I might do is, I might try something like this first. So I'll try turning that green orange and then turning that down and seeing if that makes a difference. And I wanted the green, if I remember, to go to the white. So it's a slightly different setup. Now I can see that if I turn that to there, that will come up to there, and I'm only turning these two faces. So that is the go. And you can see the green orange is attached to the green. So now I need to undo setups. I do that and put that back, and the green orange has been placed. And we've got one last green to go, and this time the green yellow has got to go to the blue orange. So let's first of all turn it down, and let's have a think. I reckon this is good as well. So this will go to here, this will go to here, and you can see because that's the second piece, that's going to come down, the green will turn onto the blue. And I'm only turning the red face, then the blue face, and undoing them, you can see what's happened. So when I turn that back, all of the green edges have been reduced. So that's actually probably nearly the hardest part of reducing these edges. So what I do next is obviously a number of ways. This is not the solution, this is just a solution to reducing Mars, but what I do next is place the outer edges of the central block here. And I'll try to do as many as I can. So for example, I've got a white red here that can go there. Now, you remember that I've got to only turn 0 faces. So the white faces are one face. So even though I could theoretically turn that down to there by turning that and then undoing, you can see that when I do it, it's mucked up the circle edges. It has placed that white red, but because it mucks up the circle edges, that's why I can't turn the one faces. So instead of that, I'll see, is there another way I can do it? And I can turn the blue face first, put that out of the way, then turn its position up, and then undo those moves. And you can see that as I do that, that keeps everything intact and places that red-white edge. So that's my general plan. I'll look at the orange-yellow. Can I get that in? And again, I can go and turn this to here. So turn the position out the way, put that up, turn that off, and put that back. And in fact, I've just made a complete fool of myself. Let's undo that again. So I was thinking that the yellow is the 0 face, and in fact it's not. Okay, let's leave that in and let's have another think about things. So I would normally turn the orange yellow to here. That's got to go. You can see I can't do it the way I did it. I also can't do it by turning it down here. So what that tells me is that the orange yellow actually needs to flip. So to flip the orange yellow, I'll do that at the end because I want to flip only what I need to flip. So I'm going to leave that and go place another one if I can. So let's think about what else I've got up here. White, orange. That needs to go down here. This time I hopefully won't make a fool of myself. Now I can turn this to here and then that to there. So the piece movement is this to here, and by doing what I was doing before, turning it off its position, now turning that up, and you can see because I'm turning the 0 faces, everything is okay. So let's place that one. So at this stage I'm looking for non-blue pieces. So I've got a red-yellow here. We'll turn that around and see if that's going to work. That will work the same. So I can turn off, put its position up, turn it onto its position, and then turn it down, and that's okay because I can then undo that setup. So I reckon that means that I've got 3 of these done, and I know that the orange yellow needs to be flipped because I tried doing that before. And you can see even if I turn it around again, there's still there's no way that I can just turn these faces and have that turn. So I'm going to leave that for now. What else needs to be flipped? Well, this blue yellow is on the top, and that is not correctly oriented. So the two that need flipping are these two. So let's flip them now. What I want to do to flip these two edges is have them at up front and up right. I've found this is the easiest way for doing this on Mars. I'm going to be doing front up right, up prime, right prime, front prime, and all I need to remember is to make sure the one face is on the front. If I do that, this will work fine and it'll leave the circle edges intact. So front, up, right, up prime, right prime, front prime. The first thing to notice is all of my circle edges are back where they should be. That'll only happen if you've got a one face on the front. Now, what we'll find is that the two edges that I wanted to flip have gone here and here, if I'm not mistaken. Certainly one of them's gone here, and that's the one we're interested in. So let's have a look at this now. We'll notice now that the yellow has got to come down here and it's going to be incorrectly oriented, which means I've got to turn its position up to the top by turning a zero face, and then turning onto its position by turning another zero face, and when I undo those moves, that's actually correctly oriented and placed, and we couldn't do that before. So that's the deal with flipping, and you'll notice now all the remaining edges are blue edges, and they're on the top and they're correctly oriented, so that's fantastic. So the next thing to check is whether I have a two cycle or a swap of outer edges. So I've got this one placed. What about the others? I've got that one placed as well, and I can see that the blue yellow and the blue white need to swap. Now on an ordinary Rubik's Cube, what I would do is just turn the upper face and resolve my outer edges. But the problem with that on this cube is that I can't just do that, because as soon as I involve a one face, it is going to muck up the circle edges. So for example, this one's going to be okay if I go and replace that. That would be okay, but you can see that everything's gone haywire. So instead of that, what we're going to do, let's get back to where we were and remember that all of these middle ones are placed and I've got to swap these two. I am actually going to turn the upper face, but I'm going to have to replace these circle edges before I move on. And I want to replace the circle edges, so I've turned the puzzle around and I'm going to use this one face or a one face to do it. Now what I want to do is replace these circle edges, and so to do that I'll need to turn a one face, because if I don't turn a one face the circle edges won't turn. So I need to carry the edge piece series out on a one face. I don't really want to involve the green edges, and so therefore what I'm going to do is get one of these other edges that's out of whack and just set it up on that face first. Now I'm going to replace the yellow to the orange with a very simple edge piece series, and having done that I'm going to return that outer edge to where it was. And what you'll notice is that that keeps the green outer edges intact, which is pretty important. So what have we got? We've returned the yellow one, we've now got the white, the orange, and the red's back in place. So we've just got to really essentially get these swapped. Of course it's not a swap, it's a three cycle. So now the easiest way I've found to do it is I will involve this green edge. Now I'm going to turn the white to here, the orange to here, the white to here. And to do that we're going to turn just a standard edge piece series once again, and that has fixed the circle edges. Now remember, we're only doing this because we had a swap of outer edges up the top. So having done that, I've got to replace this green white down here. So I'm going to use a zero face to do that. At this stage I don't care which circle edge I use, so I'm going to turn the two outer edges that I need to deal with onto that red face, and now do an edge piece series to put the green white down there. Like so. Having done that, I'll turn things back, and what you'll see is that that green white has been replaced. All the greens are good. Let's have a look at the central layer. That's all good. What's going on up the top? You'll see in fact that we actually have all of our outer edges placed now and our circle edges back. So that's fantastic. If that didn't happen, what we would find was that there would be some sort of three cycle of outer edges. And to fix that, we could use a sune, or we could use an edge piece series, doesn't matter. Having said all that, the outer edges are done, and that means that all of the edges are now reduced. Now, the next stage is probably the longest, I would say, and that is to reduce our corners. And that's an example of a partially reduced corner there, because that part's not. What we need to do is get all of our corners done. So, the way I do it is to use my orange face as my upper face, because in order to reduce them, I've got to turn things around. So, for example, I can turn that to there and get that done. That's the general plan. But it's much harder than normal because we don't have that much freedom of movement. So, the way that I will do it would be to hold the yellow, the green and the white at left, front, right. It doesn't really matter if I do it. I could quite easily do it like that as well. I just do it with the orange face on top. And I'm going to just see what I've got. I'm going to start by looking at the corners that are already on the orange face and seeing if I can just rotate some around in order to get something reduced. Let's have a look. So for example, I would say that I've got a green outer here. If I could rotate that corner to put the green inner here, that would be good. Then I would have a blue outer here. So if I could rotate this to have a blue inner, that would be good. And if I did that, the red outer would be on the top, and that could then turn around to here. And so in fact I would get 3 of my 4 corners partially reduced along the top. So that is the plan that I'm going to do. So I need to rotate this one anti-clockwise and this one clockwise. So in order to do that, I've got to bring the corners onto a one face and do the turns there. And I'm going to heavily rely on some sune and sune mirror here, particularly for the corners at the back. So that's got to go anti-clockwise. So I want to bring it to the front first of all. I want to think if it's at the front left, it'll go anti, the back left corner will go clockwise. So the problem here is that having done that, I don't really want to rotate that corner at all. I want to leave that where it is. So I then think, alright, this has got to go clock. How can I do that? Well, if I was to turn that to here first on the green face, then turn this down, and then put those 2 corners to the left, that would be the anti one. And this one, which I actually want to rotate clockwise, would also rotate clockwise. So that's my setup for getting the 2 corners here. I'm now going to carry out sune, followed by sune mirror. And you'll notice that I must do this on the green faces and the white and the yellow, because then I don't disrupt circle corners. Now having done that, I've got to undo my setup. So I believe the first one was that. Was it? No, it wasn't. It was that, then that, and then that. Okay. Now what we'll notice is, remember the corners that I care about are on the orange face. So I don't really care at this stage what happens to these ones. But you'll see that this has rotated as I wanted it to, and so has this. So now I can turn that upper face. I've got all orange edges here, so these orange edges remain reduced, and you can see that 1, 2, 3, as we said, of the corners have been partially done. That's the sort of thing I'm aiming for. Now let's do another example. We've got the blue corner here, blue outer. I'd like to put a blue inner there, so I'm going to turn this one clockwise. If that's a blue inner, that's a yellow outer, which would be nice if that went to a yellow inner, which is down here. So I'm going to deal with that in a minute. Let's get this one rotated clockwise first. So again, to do that, I'm going to simply turn that face and put that one in the back position, which will ensure it's rotated clockwise, and carry out sune followed by sune mirror. Alright, having done that, I'll undo my setups, and that has been correctly rotated. Alright, as I said, that has got a yellow outer. It'd be nice to put that yellow inner there, so I can do that fairly easily, and I'll do that last for a reason that I'll show in a minute. But I'll note that the white outer, which will be here, will need to go to a white inner, if I could get it there. Because that's a white outer, I want to travel it around to a white inner. Now I've got a white inner here, so that's one option, and the other option is to put a white outer here, which will turn onto that white inner. So in fact, probably the easier thing is to rotate this one clockwise, anti-clockwise, and then I'll put this one up. So in rotating this one anti-clockwise, because I've got it at the join of two 1 faces, I can simply do what I probably would normally do and carry out 2 edge piece series, always going up, up, down, down, to rotate that one anti-clockwise. Now you'll notice, having done that, that the white outer is now on top, ready to turn there. Okay, so where's the yellow inner that I wanted? It's here. How can I get that up to there? Well, again, this is on the join of two 1 faces, so temporarily all I need to do is carry out 1 edge piece series, and as long as I'm turning up, up, down, down, that'll keep this stuff where I need it. Now the things are in position and I can rotate that, and you can see it's done 3 of them again. I'm now going to undo those setups that I did. So the first one was to undo this edge piece series, put those back, you can see everything's come back there. And the second one was that I believe I turned it anti-clockwise, and so I've got to undo those 2 turns, or those 2 edge piece series, going that way. All of those things are returned. Now technically and theoretically there's probably not, it's not essential to do that if you can keep track of what's going on, but I just prefer to have everything back at the end. So this is going fairly well. We've now got to see what's going on. I'd like to get, if I can, I'd like to have a look here and note that I've got a blue outer which could go to a blue inner. I've also got an orange outer which could go to an orange inner. Let's have a look. And what I'd do then is just look around to see, with each of those options, would any of these work well with them? And none of these are really that good, so it doesn't really matter probably. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to certainly try and get this one done. So I'm going to turn this one anti-clockwise to put the blue outer, which means I'll turn this one anti-clockwise as well to put that blue inner there. So let's deal with this one first. That's got to go anti-clockwise. So I need to turn it onto that 1 face and put it at the front. Okay, now I've put it at the front so I can undo those setups, put that back. That's been positioned. I now want to turn that one anti-clockwise as well. I can turn that to the front and do the same thing. That's done. Undo the setups. Those 2 at the back are ready to go. Those 2 are the important ones because I must turn them onto these faces here in order to rotate them. I can't do this sort of thing because you can see that it'll muck up my circle edges. So I've got the 2 at the back ready to go. What would I like now? That's a white outer, so I'd really like a white inner to be here if I could. Got a white inner here. Now ordinarily what I would do would just be something like turn this around and then swap those 2. But you can see that what it does is, because that's a 0 face, it's going to muck up anything that's already there, and I don't want to do that. So instead of that, I'm going to move that corner to here using a corner piece series. So again, corner piece series, most of you should be fairly familiar with that from my videos. So that's moving pieces this way. This is a piece movement which is clockwise, so the first turn of my upper face is anti-clockwise. That's done, and it doesn't affect any edges. Now you'll notice that all it does is put that particular corner here, but the white inner is there. So I'll need to rotate, I was going to say flip. I need to orient that up to there before I do my reduction. That's going to have a yellow outer. Do I have a yellow inner here? Not yet, but I do have one here. So I'm going to do the same sort of thing as before, and first of all, rotate this one. And remember, I can do it because it's at the front, so it's on 1 faces. Then I'm going to get that yellow inner, which is now also rotated. That's okay. I'm going to put it up there by carrying out 3 edge piece series. And to do that, go up, up, down, down. and repeat that another 2 times. And that will bring the edges back to where they were. Okay, so all the corners are now in place. I carry out my reduction and we get 3 of those things done. Now I've got to undo what I did. That's the first undoing. And this one here, I believe I went up like that, so I've got to undo like that. And that puts all of the edges back. And the corners are certainly looking better. Now my goal really is to get a corner like this that's all done, and then put it down the bottom and replace it with something that does need to be done. So I'm going to do that now. And again, I'm going to do that by using a corner piece series. So if I was to bring that up to here, I think I would actually like to put that to that position. And so I'm going to carry that out using a corner piece series that moves pieces in that direction, and so the first turn of the upper face is clockwise this time. So that's done. Do that, and what we'll see is that, now where is that corner gone? There it is. Now, because I've obviously miscalculated things and it's landed still on the top face, in fact it's landed over here, so I must have, that's right, so it's gone from here to there. So that's okay. All I need to do is think about how to get it off and replace it with something like this. And because that's now on the join of 2 one faces, that's easy enough to do. I can just carry out my 3 edge piece series. Like that. The edges are back. That's now on the bottom, and that's, I guess, my short-term goal for these things is to get a corner done and put it on the bottom face. So where are we now? We've got corner at the back, we've got a yellow that could potentially go to a yellow, we've got a white that could come to that white, so I reckon that's what I'm going to aim for. Have the other thing is I could switch that, the orange to the top, have it go to the orange. I reckon I'm going to leave that there, bring that around anti-clockwise, so let's do that first with a sune and its mirror. I'm always doing the full moves of the sune and then undoing, not because I essentially have to, but just to show you exactly what's going on. So that white's going to go to there. I'd then like that red potentially to go to a red inner. Now because of that, I can see a red inner here that I could put over to there. Now if I did that, that's going to be a green outer, and I'd like a green inner to go there. And this is going to work out really well, because I'm going to carry out the corner piece series that moves the pieces that way. So that green inner will go to this position, which is exactly what I want. So let's do that. And what you can see is that red outer goes to the red inner, the green outer goes to the green inner, and these things actually oriented themselves very nicely for me. So thank you very much to the corners for that. Now I'm ready to go and turn, and I'll get 3 of these things done. 1, 2, 3. That one's ready to go again. Do I have a completed corner? Not quite, but I've got this one going here. So red outer, that can go to a red inner, so let's get that one around clockwise, and that then hopefully we'll be able to get that corner done. So to do it clockwise, I want to put it here. Undo, that will be in position. This one is an orange outer, so I'd love an orange inner there, so that's going to go clockwise. And then I'll note, if that turns clockwise, it'll put a yellow outer there. So I could go for a yellow inner here, but the other thing I could go for would be an orange outer here, which would then go and deal with that one. So I reckon that's what I'm going to do, because these corners are in position. So that's got to go anti, that's got to go clock. And because normally I guess I could just do 2 edge piece series here because it's joined at the one faces, and then 2 here. But because these 2 are very easily set up to those positions for a sune and its mirror, that's what I'm going to do on this occasion. So that's done. Undo that setup and we'll see that everything is in order there. I can turn around. Another 3 are done. Do I have any? That's completed, and that's completed. So that should now be 3 corners that are completely done. So let's get them off. Let's put another one up to the top. What have we got? Yeah, that's great, because the ones down the bottom, there's none that are full of corners to be reduced. So first of all, let's get that one up to there, and I can do that by, in fact, I'm going to take care of the one at the back, because that's the harder one to deal with. That could swap with that one. So let's bring that around to there and carry out 3 edge piece series to swap them. And what's actually going to happen, I think, is this is going to swap with this at the same time, and so that will actually go off the top face. So maybe things will work out really nicely here. Okay, that's done. Let's undo those setups. Let's see what I've got. Okay, so I did end up with one back here. That's okay, I can deal with that now. Let's have a think. I've got the yellow outer going to the yellow inner, that's good. That's a red outer, needs to go to a red inner. Can I put a red inner there? I can if I can get that one to there. And to do that, the first thing I'd think about would be turning it to the green face, and then I want to get that to there. Now at the moment my corner piece series would move that out of position, which I don't really want. So what I'm going to do is turn the whole thing around like this, and then think that's got to go to there. If I did that and turned this face around, I would then involve that piece, which you will remember is actually at the bottom here on the red face, so I don't care about involving that piece. So really all I want to do is get this to here. So let's do that. Okay, having done that, I'll undo those setups, put them back. Let's take stock. Let's see how we're going here. That's the back, so we've got the yellow outer to the yellow inner. The red outer can now go to the red inner, so I've got to turn that anti-clockwise. I'll do that by doing my sune and its mirror. And undo those setup moves. Things are looking good here. That yellow outer needs to go to a yellow inner or a green outer to match with that. Do we have any of that? I do have a green outer down here. So I'm actually going to put that one there. How can I do that? If I spin that, then do a corner piece series that'll move that across the diagonal, that should get the job done. And when I unspin it, I should have that still correct, goes to there, that goes to there, that yellow go to this one, which will be the green outer, which will go to there. So that's looking good. So I'm just going to rotate that front corner, carrying out 2 edge piece series. Okay, that's good. Now I can turn and reduce. You can see what's happened, and I'll unrotate this corner to put the edges back. Okay, now we're actually not that far from having all of the corners reduced. I've got one there, one there, one there, one there, and that's it. So I just need to get these 4 corners up to the top into the appropriately good positions. Now at this point in time I would actually look at the edges and see where they are in relation to where they need to be. And I notice that the orange blue and the orange green need to swap, as of course do these two. Therefore I think to myself, if I could possibly get it to make the last reduction turn a 180 degree turn, not only would it reduce the corners, it would also get the edges back to where they need to be. I'm going to try and think about that now. I do see here that I've got the blue yellow opposite the yellow blue. That's ideal. I also have a white orange here, and that means that orange white, if I could place it there, I'd be exactly where I want it to be. So I'm now going to think, I'm actually going to turn it around. That has got to go here. I'm going to move this up to that face, And this is one that I don't care about, and so my corner piece series will do exactly what I need it to do. Okay, and turning the cube back, undoing the setups, we should see the yellow blue and the blue yellow are opposite, the white orange and the orange white are opposite. So that's precisely what I need. I just need to rotate these corners before I begin. So what have we got? Let's deal with the ones at the back. That's got to go clockwise, and that's got to go clockwise. So I can't do them at the same time. That's got to go clockwise. That's got to go anti. So I might as well do these at the same time. So in order to do that, my setups will be, let me think, I turn that and then that. That'll work. The anti at the front, clock at the back, carry out a sune in its mirror. Okay, what was my setup? I think it was that first and then that there. Excellent. They're ready to go. I've got the blue yellow that needs to go clockwise, and this that also needs to go clockwise. So let's leave that. Let's just get this blue yellow at the back dealt with. So I can do that. Okay, just got to remember my setups. And in this case, I think it was that. That does look right. Okay. Now, 3 of them are ready. I've got to get that one turned around. So what am I going to do? Just rotate it. Like so. They're now ready to reduce. I can turn my upper face 2 turns. Notice the edges are back where they should be. So I will then unrotate that corner. And as we look around, all the edges are still where they are. More importantly, all of the corners are reduced. Now, the final phase of the solve, thankfully, is quite a bit quicker than the reduction of the corners, and that is to place the corners. The nice thing is it's nicely set up for a corner piece series, because for a corner piece series we need a left, an up and a right face that can be turned, and we do have that here with our one faces. So what I've tended to do is actually, instead of trying to do bizarre setups to orient the corners as I place them, I'm just going to put them in their positions and then orient them later. And so to do this, what I'll need is to have this blue face on the bottom and the green on the top. I'm going to go and place the blue corners first. So for example, I've got a blue, orange, yellow that needs to go there. Now because green's top, if I turn that blue, orange, yellow and its position to the top, I can then carry out a corner piece series that will move that to there. Let's go put them back. So undo the setups and have a look. In this case, that blue, orange, yellow has placed and oriented. Fantastic. What's next? The blue, red, yellow needs to go to this position. Can I achieve that somehow? Yeah, I probably can. In fact, to do that, I'm going to turn it around. I'm going to do something similar. I'm going to put the position there and do 2 turns there to get that movement. And it'll involve this, but I haven't placed that one yet, so that's okay. Okay, undoing my setups. Let's have a look at what's happened. That blue, orange, yellow is still there. The blue, red, yellow has now been placed. The blue, white, yellow now needs to come to here. Okay, how can I get that done? Same sort of thing. I can now turn the cube around. So I'm really alternating between here and here depending on what I need. The blue, white, red needs to come to here. And I can now involve this green corner because I'm not worried about them yet. So there's my corner piece series. Done. Undo setups. Let's have a look. All but one of the blues are now in place. So the blue, so I'm going to have the cube like this now. Must remember white, green, yellow as left, up, right. So if I do a simple setup like that, I can now turn that into that position and that will be the piece movement. Undo my setup. Let's have a look. All of the blue corners are positioned, and in fact 2 of them have oriented, which is great. Now what I need to do is just position the yellow corners, so I can see the green corners. The green, red, yellow is in position. What about the others? Green, white, orange has got to go to here, which has got to go to here. So if I do a simple setup like that, then move them like that, it'll be done. All done, undo my setup, and miraculously, that actually never happened before, all of the green corners that I wanted to position have also placed. So I've actually only got 2 corners now to orient to complete the puzzle. Now if you had more to orient, the procedure is precisely the same as what I'm about to do. So a number of ways to orient them. I'm going to simply use the sune and the sune mirror, which I've already been using in this solve. So I want to locate the one that needs to go anti-clockwise, which is here. That's got to be placed at the front, and the clockwise one's got to be placed at the back. So how do I do that? Well, if I'm going to turn this up to the front, I will want the clockwise one to be here, so that turning this up will actually push the clockwise one to the back. So let's set that up. I can turn, the easiest for me to remember, I'll turn the right face up. I don't have to remember that because it'll be clear at the end. So my setups are up to left prime. And now those 2 are in position. Let's go and carry it out. What was it? Up to left prime, so my undoing is my left, then my up to, and I can clearly see that's got to be done. I'll look around and see that the crazy Mars 3x3 cube is solved.